I'm going to tell you something I've never told anyone. 6 months ago, I ended up having sex with my daughter's husband, and the worst part is that it started because I asked him to. Yes, I was the one who made the first move. And although I know it's wrong, I can't deny that it was the most intense experience I've had in years. Before you judge me, let me tell you the whole story from the beginning. My name is Rosa. I'm 54 years old, and I've lived alone for 7 years since my husband passed away. I have an only daughter, Lupita, who is my pride and joy, my reason for living. When she married Javier a year ago, I was happy. Finally, my little girl had found a good man, hardworking, responsible, and polite. Javier is 30 years old, an engineer, and I liked him from the start. Tall, dark-haired, good-looking, but above all respectful to me. He always called me Sugrita affectionately and helped me with the grocery bags when I had those kinds of errands. The first few months after the wedding, everything seemed normal. Lupita came to see me every week. She was telling me about her newlywed life. She seemed happy, but a few months ago I started noticing something was wrong. My daughter would come home huffing and puffing, and I, who've known her since she was in my belly, could see something was bothering her. She sat strangely, like she was uncomfortable. She walked slowly and had terrible dark circles under her eyes, like she wasn't sleeping well. At first I thought it was work, that she was just tired, but one Saturday afternoon when we were having coffee in my kitchen, I saw her wince as she sat down, and that's when I couldn't hold back anymore. I asked her directly, "Lupita, what's wrong? You've seemed unwell for a while now." My daughter turned red. She was avoiding my eyes. "No, Mom, nothing, I'm fine, but I know myself," I insisted. "Don't give me that. You're my daughter, and I know when something hurts." "What is it?" Lupita remained silent for a long time. I saw her eyes begin to fill with tears, and right there in my kitchen, my little girl broke down and told me everything. It turns out my son-in-law, well, how can I put it? Without being vulgar, Javier was very well endowed, too well endowed, and every time they were intimate, Lupita suffered terribly. It hurt her horribly. She couldn't enjoy it. She ended up crying from the pain. It had gotten to the point where she dreaded going to bed because she knew what was coming. It broke my heart to see my daughter like that. "Why don't you go to the doctor, my child?" "Oh, Mom, how can I tell the doctor that? I'm so ashamed. Besides, it's not Javier's fault. He tries to be careful, but he can't help it." I hugged her while she cried. My poor little girl, newly married and already suffering like this. And the worst part is that I didn't know how to help her that night. I couldn't sleep. I kept going over and over Lupita's problem. My daughter was suffering, and as her mother, I had to do something. But what? It wasn't like I could just make a doctor's appointment for her. This was a delicate matter. And then an idea came to me. A crazy idea, but one that seemed logical at the time. If I could see how serious the situation was, maybe I could advise my daughter, give her tips, suggestions. I already had experience. I already knew how these things worked. Maybe Lupita just needed to relax more, try other positions, or use lubricant, things a mother can advise her daughter without so much drama. But for that, I needed to know exactly what the problem was. And that meant, well, it meant I needed to talk to Javier alone. 2 days later, I texted my son-in-law. "Javier, can you come over to my house tomorrow afternoon? I need to talk to you about something important regarding Lupita." He replied clearly. "Mother-in-law, something's wrong. It's something we need to discuss in person, my son." The next day, I was nervous. I dressed up more than usual. I wore a nice dress. I don't know why, but I felt I had to look good. I wanted Javier to feel comfortable talking to me. When he knocked on the door, my heart was racing. With a sigh, I opened it and saw him standing there in that blue shirt that suited him perfectly, his black hair neatly combed. For a second, I stared at how his shoulders filled the doorway. "Come in, my son. Sit down." I made him some coffee, and we sat in the living room. Javier looked nervous, restless. I suppose he was wondering what I was going to talk about. "Javier, Lupita," he told me everything. I saw the blood drain from his face. He lowered his head, ashamed. "Mother-in-law, I try to be careful, I really do. I don't want to hurt Lupita. I love her with all my heart. I know, my son. I know it's not your fault. That's why I want to help you." Javier looked at me, confused. "Help us? How?" And that's when I said the words that would change everything. Look, Javier, I've had experience with these things. Perhaps if I could assess the situation, I could advise Lupita on what to do, positions, techniques, that sort of thing. Javier looked at me as if I were speaking Chinese. Mother-in-law, what are you saying? I moved a little closer. My heart was pounding. What I'm saying is, let me see him, Javier, so I can find out how serious it is and help my daughter. Javier jumped to his feet. No, mother-in-law, that's not right. I can't. It's for Lupita. Javier, it's for your wife. Don't you want her to stop suffering? I saw him hesitate, struggle with himself. It would only be my son seeing him, nothing more, so I can understand the problem. I don't know how much time passed, maybe minutes, maybe seconds. But finally, Javier nodded slowly. Okay, but just seeing him, and this stays between us. Of course, my son will keep it a secret. Javier stood in front of me, trembling slightly. He slowly began to unbuckle his belt. I felt like my heart was going to burst out of my chest. When he pulled down his pants and underwear, I froze. Good heavens, I'd never seen anything like it in my life. My late husband had been normal, but Javier was something else entirely. Now I understood perfectly why my poor Lupita suffered so much. Kiss and scream. That's why I moved a little closer, almost hypnotized. And that's when I felt something I hadn't felt in 7 years. A warmth that started in my stomach and spread down. 8. A sensation I'd forgotten existed. Mother-in-law, without thinking, I reached out. I was only going to touch him for a second, I don't know, to better assess the situation. That's what I told myself. But when my fingers made contact, something exploded inside me. 7 years of loneliness, of cold nights, of waking up alone, it all came flooding back. Mother-in-law, what are you doing? Yes, Javier, let me help you. And there in my living room, I crossed a line from which there was no turning back. I won't go into graphic details, but what happened that afternoon is something I'll never forget. After 7 years of drought, of sleeping alone, of dreaming of a man's touch, I finally felt alive again. Javier resisted at first. He said it wasn't right that I was his mother-in-law, but little by little he gave in, and before we knew it, we were in my bedroom panting, in my bed, doing things a mother-in-law should never do with her daughter's husband. The age difference didn't matter. His body, young, strong, full of energy against mine, which, although no longer that of a young girl, still had its charms. 7 years of repressed desire exploded that afternoon. When it was over, we both lay in silence, panting, processing what we had just done. Mother-in-law, what did we do? I don't know, my boy, I don't know. Javier dressed quickly, guilt written all over his face. This was a mistake. It can't happen again. You're right, it was just this once. It happened out of curiosity, but we both knew it was a lie. The next day, I woke up feeling guilty. How could I have done that to Lupita, my own daughter? I promised myself I would never see Javier like that again, that it had been a moment of weakness, nothing more. But that afternoon, I received a message from him. Mother-in-law, we need to talk. We met at a coffee shop. Javier looked haggard, as if he hadn't slept. I can't stop thinking about yesterday, he told me. I feel awful, but at the same time, I know, my son. Me too. What are we going to do? We looked into each other's eyes, and that's when I knew this wasn't over, that this whole thing was just beginning. We could see each other again just to get this off our chests, and then, yes, we're done with this. Javier nodded. Even though we both knew we were lying to each other, that same night, Javier came to my house, and what happened was even more intense than the first time. Without the initial surprise, without the doubt, we gave ourselves completely to each other. And so our secret routine began. Javier would visit me 2 or 3 times a week, sometimes after work, sometimes during his lunch break, sometimes in the early hours of the morning, when he told Lupita he had to leave for a work emergency. I felt more alive than ever. I dressed up for him, bought myself pretty lingerie, dyed my gray hair. For the first time in 7 years, I felt desired, a real woman. And the worst, or best part, depending on how you look at it, is that we started developing real feelings. It wasn't just sex anymore. We kissed, we laughed, we watched movies cuddled up together. Javier told me about his life, his dreams, his fears, and I shared them with him. I've never told anyone before, mother-in-law. I think I'm falling in love with you, he said one night after we'd made love. Oh, my son, don't say that. This is just what? Just sex. Rosa, you know it's more than that. And he was right. I was falling in love with my son-in-law, my daughter's husband, and he with me. The worst part was that Lupita noticed the change in Javier. She told me that lately her husband was more patient with her, more affectionate, that he wasn't pressuring her so much for intimacy, that their relationship had improved, and there I was, smiling, saying how wonderful that I was happy for her, when in reality, it was because Javier no longer needed to pressure my daughter so much, because she came to me to vent. I had become the other woman, but the other woman to my own daughter. Things got complicated when Don Raul, a widowed neighbor in my building, started flirting with me. Don Raul was 58 years old, a good man with a pension, no commitments, and he was interested in me. He asked me out several times. At first I said no, but he persisted, sent me flowers, left me little notes on the door. He was nice, really, I told Javier, and he went crazy. That bastard is hitting on her. Javier, calm down, he's just a friendly neighbor. No, Rosa, that guy wants something more, and I'm not going to let another man touch you. I was shocked to see him so jealous, so possessive, my son, and what are we supposed to do? You're married to my daughter. We can't have a future, I don't care, you're mine. Those words melted me, but they also scared me. This was getting out of control. Don Raul wouldn't give up, and to top it all off, he started to suspect. He saw me arrive with Javier. He saw us saying goodbye at the building entrance, and even though we tried to be discreet, one day he caught us kissing in the parking lot. The following week, Don Raul knocked on my door. Rosa, we need to talk. About what, Don Raul? I saw what you were doing with that boy, the one you said was your son-in-law. He was furious. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't play dumb. Do you know how serious this is? He's your daughter's husband. Oh my God, I couldn't deny it. I broke down. Don Raul, please, don't say anything. Don't say anything. Rosa, your daughter deserves to know the truth. Please, I beg you. I love him. Don Raul looked at me with a mixture of pity and disgust. Are you sick, Rosa? Is this wrong on so many levels? Either you end this mess or I'll tell your daughter myself. He gave me a week to decide. That night I cried like I hadn't cried in years. I told Javier everything, and he was devastated too. We can't let that old man separate us. Javier, he's right. This is wrong. We're hurting Lupita. But I love you, Rosa. I can't lose you. And I love you and my son. But we can't go on like this. My daughter doesn't deserve this. This was the most painful conversation of my life because I knew I had to let him go. No matter how much it hurt, no matter how much my body and heart needed him. We have to end this, Javier. I saw his eyes fill with tears. One last time, Rosa. Give me one last night with you. And I fell once more. That last night was intense, painful, beautiful. We made love as if it were the last time in our lives because we knew it was. We said everything we had never dared to say. We promised we would always remember each other. When dawn broke, Javier dressed in silence. We hugged each other in the doorway, both of us crying. Take care of my daughter, Javier. Make her happy. I will. And you be happy too, Rosa. I don't think I can love anyone else after you, nor I after you. We kissed for the last time, and I let him go. Months have passed since that night. Javier stopped coming to my house. Lupita tells me that her marriage is better than ever. She says that Javier is more attentive, more affectionate, and that the intimacy problem was solved, that they found a way for it not to hurt him so much anymore. And I smile and tell her how happy I am for her, but inside I'm dying. Every night I sleep alone, hugging the pillow where he used to rest his head. I can still smell his cologne on my sheets, even though I've washed them 1,000 times. Don Raul doesn't speak to me anymore. He looks at me with disdain every time we pass each other in the hallway, but he kept his word and didn't say anything to Lupita. I suppose he saw that I ended the relationship and decided to leave me alone. Sometimes I see Javier when he comes to visit me with Lupita. We greet each other cordially, like mother-in-law and son-in-law, but our eyes meet for a second, and I know that he misses me too, that he's suffering too. The worst part is that I don't regret it. I know I should. I know that what I did was wrong in every way. I betrayed my daughter. I crossed every imaginable moral line. Any decent person would judge me, but those were the most vibrant 6 months I've felt in years. After 7 years of loneliness, of feeling invisible, of sleeping alone and cold, Javier made me feel like a woman again. He made me feel desired, loved, alive, and yes, I hurt my daughter without her knowing. Yes, I'm a bad mother, and for that, I probably deserve hell, but I can't erase what I felt. I can't forget those afternoons in my bed, those early mornings whispering secrets, those moments when the outside world disappeared and only he and I existed. Lupita comes to see me every week. She hugs me, tells me she loves me, that I'm the best mom in the world, and I smile and hug her back with this horrible secret burning inside me. Sometimes I wonder if she'll ever find out, if Javier will ever tell her, if Don Raul will change his mind and speak up. And I think about how my daughter would react, how she would hate me, how I would lose the only person I have left in this world. But on the other hand, part of me doesn't regret it because those months prove to me that I'm still alive, that I can still feel, desire, love, that I'm not just an old widow waiting for death. Javier gave me back something I thought I'd lost forever. And even though I know what we did was wrong, even though I know I betrayed my daughter in the worst way possible, I can't deny that they were the most intense months of my life. Now I live with this guilt, with this secret that eats me up inside. I see my daughter happy with her husband, and I think he was mine first. I had him in my bed. I made him moan my name, and I hate myself for thinking this way. I hate myself for being so selfish, so cruel. But it's the truth. This is my confession, my horrible secret that I can never tell anyone but you. Strangers of the internet. This is what I did for love or lust or loneliness. I don't even know what it was anymore. I only know that if I could go back, I'd probably do it again, and that makes me a monster. But I miss his hands on my body so much, his mouth on my neck, his voice telling me he loved me. God forgive me, but I don't regret it, and that's the honest truth.